Hi Stampers, welcome to our Monday Live. Today we are featuring a fun fold card I think you're going to love. It looks kind of simple on the outside, right? But the surprise happens when we open it up and we have this step pop-out card. So it folds up for mailing, but then opens up for a fun surprise. So let's see how it's done. Okay, here we are down on my desk. We will be using the Be My Valentine stamp set. I know we are a long way from Valentine's Day, but that doesn't mean we can't tell somebody that they're special and that we love them. So we can still use a lot of the sentiments for that. And then, of course, the flowers and the bee you can use anytime. So we're going to use that, but we're going to use the Meant to Be dies. This is another stamp set. It coordinates with the Be My Valentine, but I didn't get the stamp set. I just got the dies. I do want to point out that the other stamp set has a different size bee. So if you have it, you would have multiple sizes. This one comes with a punch, but this one has dies. And if you look at the dies, one is a little bit too big and then the other one is a little bit too small. So they don't necessarily fit, but you can stamp them. I did this one and then cut them with the smaller one and it just kind of cuts some off, which is totally okay, right? So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to use these dies and the Be My Valentine stamp set. So we're going to start out with an entire sheet of cardstock. I know. What am I doing, right? So I'm going to start with 8.5 by 11. I scored it in half at 5.5 on the long side and at 4.25 on the short side. So that's in half both ways. But we're going to remove this corner over here. We don't need this one. We just need the other 3 panels. And I'll show you how we use them until I get this one cut out. So I'm going to cut along that score line down to the middle score line. And then I'm going to cut this one up from the bottom, but I'm going to take out the score line and then just a titch over it because I don't want it to interfere with the way that it closes. I want this to be able to fold up and this one still close, okay? So we need to just take a little bit extra off of this side. But then we're going to score it. So this piece right here is our bottom chunk on here. Okay, so we're going to start by scoring this at 1/2 inch. Okay, then I want to score this at 1 3/4. And then we're scoring it at 3. So this is going to make 3 panels that are 1 1/4 inch each, and then the 1/2 inch that we're going to use to attach it to the inside of our card. We'll make sure we burnish these. Actually, we're going to need to go this way because I want the card to fold in from that side and for this to roll up. And it's good to burnish them both directions. It just makes them more pliable. They roll a little easier. So that part's going to go that way. And then you'll notice that my blade needs to be replaced. So I've got some little like fuzz along the edge. When you have that, you can take just some sandpaper, an emery board, anything, and you're just going to kind of drag it along the edge, and it's going to get rid of all those little fuzzy things. So who knew a nail file was going to be useful in the craft room, right? You can just run it along the edge, take off all the little fuzzies. Now we need some layers, right? Lots and lots of layers. I did matte this one. You don't have to. You can do away with the yellow pieces if you'd like. I liked the extra layering, so I have a piece that is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 as my matte. And then I have a piece for the inside that is 4 by 5 1/4. Then I have the same size mat for the outside, 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. But this time, rather than having the 4 inches all in one paper, I have it in two. So I have two pieces. They're 5 1/4 by 2. And that's going to allow me to put the two of them on here and have two different patterns. But then I wanted to cover up that. So what I'm going to do is cut a piece of the petunia pop, and we're going to just use that over the middle as a divider and to cover up the seam. So we'll need one of those. Okay, for the inside, we need this step level right here. Okay, this inside piece is going to be 4 by 4 1/4. And then we're going to need to score that one as well. So I need my trimmer back. So I'm going to use this with the adhesive sheet on the back. I just happen to have this in my scraps. So I'm going to use this as my divider down the middle. And then this inside piece, the top of our little pop-up here, this is 4 by 4 1/4. And then on the 4 1/4 inch side, we're going to score this at 1/2 inch. And then 1 3/4. To go on this piece on the bottom here, this piece here, I have the yellow. That is 5 3/8 by 1 1/8. And then to go over it, a 1 inch by 5 1/4. Okay, this piece right here, we have our yellow that is 3 7/8 by 2 3/8. Then we have our basic white that is 2 1/4 by 3 3/4. So those will mount on top of each other and then mount there. And then I just have a little scrap of the designer series paper because I wanted to carry my theme into that. I love being able to use the jars that are just kind of on an edge that we would normally think we would need to throw away because they're not complete, and then just use them on the inside of the card. So this little piece has just been fussy cut. So that will go there. And then for the front of our card, we have our focal piece right here. And so that's where I used these dies. I used the two smallest dies. And then I used the wings and the antennae and the little bee. The little wings. I don't know if you caught that, but it has a bigger wing that goes with the bigger body. And then we have the smaller wings. And then this says our hive. That's what it says. If you were wondering about this on the bottom. So there's the word, and then there's the mat that would go under it. So I'm going to stamp the bee onto this Daffodil Delight using Memento Black ink for our stripes. And as I said, it's going to be a little big, but that's okay because we can cut off. We just can't glue on. I want to make sure I'm good and juiced up so that I get a good solid image. This would be a great time to use your Stamparatus or your Misty, kind of any kind of a stamp positioning tool, because it will allow you to stamp more than once in the same exact spot. So you could make that good and dark. And then I think I'm going to wait to put the face on. I want to know where it's going to cut off. So let's go ahead and put this through our die cutting machine. I know I cut off too much, but I want to make sure this is going to fit. Oh, absolutely. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of match up the bottom. I'm kind of looking to make sure that I get the stinger into my bee, and then it's actually going to cut off a little extra there, but that's okay. So I'm going to use the mini cut and emboss machine. I love this because it's nice and portable and is great for travel or keeping on your desk for most of our die cutting. It has a 3-inch opening instead of 6, so it's just a little more portable. And a little leftover yellow there. I think that's going to be just perfect size for using some flowers later on. Okay, and I got it a little off kinker here, or it shifted. I didn't use a Post-it note to hold it in place, so it could have shifted. But we can fix that, right? We'll bring in our marker. I have the basic black Stampin' Right marker, and I'm just going to color in rest of the stinger. And there you go. All fixed. Oh, we need our antennae and our wings. So come back in with that. So I have some basic black with adhesive sheet. And then I have some Pool Party with adhesive sheet. Window sheet, adhesive sheet. Did I say the right thing? There's our V. Lots and lots of pieces. Not difficult, just lots of pieces. There's our hexagons. And we have a little bit of stamping to do still. We need to put our face on the bee. So there are multiple faces to choose from in here. You can choose if you just want him smiling, or you want him winking, or mad, or just kind of silly. Grab that one. And that's going to be in Memento Black. And have a little bit of stamping on these two pieces. For the hexagon on the outside, I'm going to bring in some scrap paper and our little trailing bee thing here. I was just using that for decoration. You can use anything you like in the background. You could even dry emboss it. There's lots of different things you could do with it. But I'm doing a tone on tone by using Petunia Pop ink on Petunia Pop cardstock. So I just wanted a little something. Just clean it off because this is a color that might stain. Oh, shouldn't put that away yet. We have the inside, don't we? So we need that petunia pop one more time for our inside sentiment. You will always be the one for me. And then I'm using the honeycomb as an accent. Daffodil Delight. And then we had our little honey jar we can put down at the bottom. A little bit of glue. If you are worried about oozing out a little too much glue, what you might want to do is just put it onto your silicone mat and then pick it up with a sponge dauber and spread it around. The precision glue gun from My Sweet Petunia is also a great idea for getting just teeny bits of glue. You might have seen me use that before. Used it so much I ran out of glue. I need to refill it. So this is that adhesive remover that just takes off little bits of excess glue I didn't want on there. Come on. Now we're ready to start assembling this thing. So, as I said, we have our base here with our piece that's going to roll up. I want this to attach on the back side, so I want adhesive strip right here. I'm going to use tear and tape so it's nice and secure. And in order to get my perfect placement, okay, but before I adhere my roll up for the bottom of this, I want to put my backing in first. So I'm going to start with my Daffodil Delight. It has a teeny border, so I'm going to use liquid glue for my wiggle time. Doesn't need much, but I want to keep it towards the edges so it doesn't have the thought to lift on me. Okay, now we're ready to adhere this part. So I'm going to take off the backing, and then I'm going to roll it back like this. So I have two of my sections in front and two in the back, or one in the back. Yeah, two in the back because there's the ½ inch. Sorry. So that's going to be that part, and then we can adhere our layers on next for the front of this. I've done step cards before with internal pop-ups and all that. This one's just slightly different. That's the fun of fun folds, is, you know, you can change up just a little something and it's a whole different fold. Okay. We had our designer series paper to go across there. There it is. Have you guys found any new folds out there that you want me to give a try? I'm always looking for ideas. Let's go to the front. Hopefully these are going to butt up perfectly in the middle, but if they don't, if they overlap just a titch, or if there's a tiny gap in the middle, that's not going to matter, because that's what we're using this strip for, is just to kind of cover up the seam. And so I usually lay it down and kind of use my fingernail just to estimate where the end is. Should cut the other end off. A little bit shy on this corner with the glue. Oh, right here. Okay, this one's going to go on first. Sometimes I swear you guys can see those things that are right in front of me and I can't. So I'll put that one on flat, and then we'll pop this one up a little. You may want to be careful if you are mailing this one. You may not want to pop this layer because it's going to make it a little thicker, and it's already quite thick with that internal pop-up in there. We can do our bee. So here's his body, wings and antennae. I'm just going to touch that just a titch over the back. For the antennae. And I can go ahead and pull off the backing and attach the whole thing. Isn't he cute? Okay, back to the inside. So I need this piece to kind of mount on here, and then it's going to roll up, so it'll pop up like this. So these are both going to be mountain folds. And of course, I want tear and tape across this and across the bottom. The best way I've found to make this positioned in the right spot is I'm going to center left to right, and I'm going to put this up towards the top and make sure that it's not going to peek out. So I can put it in the envelope and it's going to stay there. And then I'm going to fold up this part and then let that naturally adhere there. If I make sure that I adhere things while they're flat, then I'm ensured that it will indeed fold up to go into the envelope later. And then I double check by folding it the other way to make sure that I'm positioned correctly. Then all we need to do is insert our inside sentiment, our matte and Daffodil Delight, then our basic white layer. And there we go. There is our finished card. So what do you think? Is this something you're going to give a try? I'm always wondering if this is something you guys like. Are you going to try it? Let me know in the comments. And make sure that you are subscribed so that you get notified next time I go live. And you can even click the little bell to be notified on specific videos. But I appreciate you being here and crafting with me today, and I will see you back here on Thursday for another Stamping Made Simple video. Thank you so much. Bye.